And time for the world according to for Thursday. Delighted to welcome our guest Jason Reed, UK lead at Young Voices and a political commentator who's got a very nice shirt on today. Jason, welcome to Talk Drive. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Jeremy.
Good.
Thank you for the compliment on the shirt. I will return it. Your shirt is also lovely.
Well, yeah, but yours is strobing. I don't know why you wore. I'm joking. It's fine. Thank you for coming on, Jace. I've been talking to people all week. We've been watching what's unfold. Interesting, you listen to the leader of the Scottish Tories, Douglas Ross, who says that there is or there isn't any more damaging material. It doesn't matter because as far as he's done, Boris Johnson's position as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom is untenable. Last night on this show, I had Jacob Rees-Mogg, leader of the House of Commons, who I thought was very down-to-earth and very normal and was very candid and honest. He thought that Rishi Sunak had been to see his dentist in Cornwall for the day, which is quite interesting. What do you make of it? Can Boris survive? And if he's a goner, who do you believe? And don't just give me the Rishi Sunak line. Who do you think? Is there anybody left field that you think could replace him?
I think the end has to be nearing for Boris. The pressure is building. People are getting fed up with the fact that it seems like we have a new party revelation every week. And you mentioned Douglas Ross and the conversations he had with Boris Johnson. Reportedly, Boris was asked to rule out the fact that there are going to be any more revelations that come out of other parties or other damaging allegations, and he was unable or unwilling to do so. And so it seems that the pressure is going to build. We've heard a lot of reports of backbench Tory MPs sending their letters into Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the 1922 committee.
Have we? There have been reports of that, have there?
There have been reports of a few. I believe the estimate, according to a number of Tory MPs, is that we're in the region of 15 now have been sent in.
You need 52 to trigger a leadership campaign, don't you? 52, is that right?
Yeah, we're still a way off. But I hear Sir Graham Brady is now accepting emails as well. So that should hopefully make things a little bit easier for people in other parts of the country who are Tory MPs to express their displeasure. I'm not a believer in Rishi Sunak becoming the next Prime Minister for a number of reasons. He's been in cabinet for about 5 minutes. I'm not convinced that he has the experience or the principle needed. My personal favourite would be Priti Patel. I think that she has composed herself with a rare dignity throughout the COVID crisis.
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that before. Everybody's got an opinion. They've talked about Liz Truss, who seems to be styling herself on a modern-day Margaret Thatcher. Rishi Sunak, I think, actually interesting, your point. I think Rishi Sunak is it's a slightly dodgy one because yesterday he chose to be in Devon and Cornwall and would have us believe that was prearranged and he wasn't next to the Prime Minister where he should have been. I suspect that he believes that if he'd sat there, he could be tainted with the same brush, right? If you like, Liz Truss didn't feel that way. She sat there. The problem with Rishi Sunak is, yes, inexperience. I spoke to John Caldwell, one of the main Tory donors, the last election, £500,000. Spoke to him yesterday on the show, and he said, I don't think he's experienced enough. I think he's made mistakes of his own. And you have to be very careful when you are part of something and then you turn around and trash it. And there's a dignity in politics. And I actually believe that there is a dignity still, strangely. I sort of believe that by staying away yesterday, he did himself a lot more harm because I think people... plus also, I don't know if you've seen this, Jace, but Cummings is putting it out on his blog that he's always wanted Sunak. He got him the job as Chancellor. His staff who were in number 10 are now running the number 11 operation, and Rishi Sunak will be the next Prime Minister. I don't think that will help him either because I don't think the public opinion of Dominic Cummings is any higher than Boris Johnson, do you?
I don't think it is. I like that Dominic Cummings tends to take credit for everything, even when things have nothing to do with him. But I think you're absolutely right on Rishi Sunak. These politicians have a tendency, don't they, to shy away from the light when there's pressure on. And so he ran off to Devon and Cornwall, whether or not it was prearranged. I think you're right that it will do him more harm than good. And that just goes to show his lack of experience. He's not quite leadership material yet, I don't think. Maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, it might be a possibility. But I'd be very surprised if the Conservative Party elects him as their next Prime Minister. Liz Truss, of course, is the other end of the spectrum. She's been in cabinet, I believe, longer than any other current cabinet minister and on an unbroken spell, and she's done some great things in that time. But I'm afraid I can't get past the fact that she's a Remainer, and we do need to have a Brexiteer Prime Minister implementing the global Britain vision. She did some good things as international trade secretary.
She did loads of deals. She signed up. Yep.
She did, but she's now been given the poison chalice of EU negotiations since the resignation of Lord Frost. And I don't think that's going to go well for her. I think by the time we have any kind of leadership contest, it will become obvious that she is not the person to be leading Britain in this new.
I'll give you a name that I think I'll give you a name that I think that the Tory party might go to, not as a candidate to heal, maybe for a few years. Cabinet experience, has kept very quiet, hasn't done anything since he lost the leadership. I think Jeremy Hunt will be in the frame, whatever happens. I genuinely believe that. Although, of course, he's famous for not even knowing that his wife was... He got them mixed up between Japanese and Chinese. But I'm being completely serious. I think Jeremy Hunt will be in the mix, but it's still always left field. Cameron was left field. Thatcher was left field. John Major was left field. And I don't know. I've become... This week myself, I was saying, Jason, I started to take it personally this week about Boris's cock-ups, if you want to be honest. I remembered that month the old man was in a care home. I couldn't see him. And the minute that the electorate, not me, the electorate start to think, well, I couldn't do that. I couldn't go to that funeral. I couldn't see that dying relative is the minute you've got problems. And I think, I don't know whether there's any way back for him, but I do think it will be fascinating / excruciating over the next few weeks. In terms of the government, if we try and get away from Boris, today the announcement that self-isolation for double jabbed with two negative lateral flow tests, they've cut that from 7 till 5. Do we finally, Jay, see an end to this misery and life will return to some semblance of normality, or what?
I hope we do see an end coming into view over the horizon, but I'm not terribly optimistic because our politicians have become addicted to this nanny state that they've created, to the right that they've given themselves to tell us what to do and when and how. This story today about the isolation period being cut down from 7 days to 5 is the perfect example, because this is just, we just need to be treated like adults and we are able to make the decision for ourselves. When the isolation period was 7 days, if you tested negative on day 5, were you really going to hang around for those extra 48 hours just for the sake of sticking to the rules and sticking to the letter of the guidance? I think most mature, sensible British adults know that if you're testing negative consistently, that you are perfectly safe to go out and live your life and go to work in the normal way. But the government is still under this illusion that we are all hanging on its every word and that we're all frightened little children who need to be told when it's safe to go out so that the scary virus from China doesn't come and get us. We need to move past that. I don't know how or when we're going to move past that, but we desperately need to return to normal, where personal responsibility rules, not Sajid Javid issuing a new guidance is the rule that govern our lives.
All right, pal. And finally, very light-hearted, I've done a poll. M&S have decided to drop the name Midget Gems after discrimination complaints. We had Mike on from Newport with a packet of Maynard Mini Gems. They haven't changed the name. They've rebranded them because they don't want to upset small people. That's what I have to say. 96% of the people there's 8,000 people. It's gone nuts, right? Well, not nuts. Gems. They're little gems, each of them. They're saying this is ridiculous. 96%. The world's gone barking mad. Where do you stand on this, Jason? Should we change them to small gems, or are we all right with midget gems? What's the truth?
I'm with the very wise and learned 96%. I think this is a classic example of virtue signaling, of people with nothing better to do than to go and complain that a word like midget is offensive, which it isn't. You can use it in a variety of contexts, has a variety of meanings. When I hear the word midget, I think of the classic car, not of a small person anyway. I think a lot of people going by Twitter today feel exactly the same. Marks and Spencer's for the last few years has had almost an annual crisis where they're worried their sales are going to slump. Perhaps 2021 was the first year where they didn't have a sales crisis.
Didn't they? Hold on a second. Wasn't there a big debate about Colin the Caterpillar cake in M&S? Wasn't there? Didn't they want Coletta or something? I can't remember. There was something some months ago, wasn't there, about the cake with the a feet? You do wonder, don't you, on a serious note, whether the world is actually going barking mad.
I think this is exactly the problem, is that we have these engorged departments at these kinds of companies that have a huge amount of money, a huge amount of resources, and nothing better to do than scour Twitter for the latest trend and the latest offense-taking, a trending hashtag that people are saying, oh, we've got to cancel this, we've got to cancel that. And it just doesn't mean anything. Nobody was offended by Midget Gems. It wasn't causing any harm at all. It won't make any difference, of course, that they've changed it to Mini Gems, but it's just very, very telling that they think that that is what British people care about. I think it's a very damaging import from America. I don't want to see companies like this engaging in politics and taking sides in the culture war. I think they should, M&S should continue doing what they do best, which is just being a supermarket. They don't need to be stooping to this level.
Well, that's what you think, isn't it? You think to yourself, well, hold on a minute. The cost of living is about to rise. Energy bills are about to go through the roof. People are struggling to heat their homes. People are struggling to eat, pay their mortgages, and send their kids to school. Clothed. Poverty is rife. Something like 25% of kids in London live under the poverty line. Hold on one second. Let's talk about Midget Gems. No, let's not. Let's talk about things that matter. Jason Reed, you are a legend. Thank you so much indeed. 6:15. This is Talk Drive. Your calls